so I'm airing my dirty laundry. Look at this, Elpida. I know you've seen it before, but
I've seen it.
it is a mess, right?
Yep.
And this is a problem because a lot of those things are small items that are, unlike other items, very, very hard to organize. And while this was intended to be a bedroom and has a very nice closet, closets are designed to organize clothes, right? But they're not very good because you see the floor space. I mean, I can bring this mess in here and hide it, but it wouldn't be any more organized.
To be honest, this is kind of basic closet structure as well, because you can obviously, even when you have clothes in here, make it a better space than just a single shelf with a hanging rack.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is the basic of what you would find in a closet. And so now you're looking to make this better.
So let me get out of the closet.
To make it a better storage space for your
So
office.
our project is to brave the cold. That's not our project.
Well, it is. It is.
We're going to brave our cold for your entertainment pleasure. No, because you won't even feel the cold. But we're going to build something to help me organize my office. How about that?
Yep.
That sounds better. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to do things a little strange. The design of this is exactly to minimize time in the garage. Because we're going to show you when we go in the garage, it is pretty freaking cold out there, right? So we want to spend the least amount of time possible in our garage while we create something that we like visually and it is functional for our place here. So we start with a very basic generic idea of our dimensions, right? So we wanted 48 inches wide, 3 to 4 feet tall, and about 12 to 15 inches deep, right? And the reason for 12 is because I have some containers that I want to put there that will match this dimension. The next step is to go to
The blue box.
the Blue Box store website, and this is what we decided to get, right? We have used this for many products. We like it. It actually stains very nicely. It looks interesting even with not stain, and most certainly it paints, right? It's called an edge glued, and that means that they've taken very small pieces and they created finger joints, etc., right? So this is what we're going for, and we calculate 3 or 4 boards for our project. How that sounds to you?
Sounds good.
That sounds fantastic to me as well. So, as always, we're going to show you every step of the way. This is going to be a basic project that can become a lot of different things. Right? It's the basis for many different projects. And definitely, it can be used even as a bookcase. It can be used as a million different things. I'm going to use it as an organizational structure, right? Stick around. You're still my favorite viewer, and this is going to be an amazing episode. Maybe it's cold inside. Outside is even colder.
And with a pretty hefty wind chill.
So ever since we built this sled, we had a little limited capacity because we did not take the riving knife in and out of the saw because it's really a pain. This is not an easy release riving knife. Today we don't have the riving knife in, so we're going to take this opportunity to enlarge and use all of our capacity, right? So Mrs. DIY. Now, after we inhaled a lot of wood dust, we can use the fullness of our saw. And if you move, I'm going to... All right. So this is a rare instance that measuring is necessary. What does that make us?
Aren't we still real woodworkers?
I guess. And the reason this is necessary is because we really want to half the piece, right?
And we have purchased 8-foot boards.
The sled makes this otherwise difficult cut very easy and safe. I highly recommend, if you have no other jigs, to build a sled for your table saw. It will make it much more useful. Alright, and we're going to align our mark with the edge here, and that will be exactly our cut. Another advantage using a sled is that it gives you a zero clearance that makes cutting exact very easy. I think we should measure that it is that distance is also 4 feet? Or?
Yeah, we should probably make sure that the board actually is what they said it was, because we've noticed that that's not always the case, right? So it's a little bit more than 8
It's actually
feet.
more than 8 feet. Now, is there an end that we cared about? Like this piece, or the piece missing?
Okay, how much more is that? We should have done that first, shouldn't we?
Yeah. It looks like it's half to 3/4 of an inch longer.
And how much is that? We need to cut this one?
That's about an inch.
Okay, so we cannot cut this one. So in this specific instance, that's why we did what we did, because you can see the board is 16 inches, and while the distance between our two faces is larger, we didn't have an opening here for our blade to come, right? So the next step is to turn the saw on and push it that way. And I will hold this piece. Don't worry about it. All right. We're going to repeat that 4 times, right? And we're going to get back with you. Like always, woodworking is about taking big pieces of wood and make them smaller. So next to El Pida, there are smaller pieces of wood that originated as bigger pieces of wood, right? That is woodworking 101. You always make your pieces different size than they were. Now, our design was driven a lot by the weather, and by that I mean it's just too cold to spend too much time in the shop, even with the heater on, you know. As always, we have our big body heater running, but even so, what is the temperature here, Mrs. Gerwin? 50.3, which is not horrible, but it's horrible if you're working, right? It's better than the 30 degrees outside, and the wind here is much more tolerable, but still it is not good weather for working. So one of the other advantages of doing things yourself is deciding how you assemble things and exactly how the design is, right? If it was warmer, we might have put datos and things like that. Now we're going to use just screws. We're going to have pilot holes, and we're trying to have everything we need with us. So we have some adapters, our favorite screws, pilot hole drill bit, and a driver. And now we have to take the material up the stairs. For all practical purposes, it is freezing outside. There is a slight rise in temperature, but it has been around 32 most of the day, and very quickly it's going to drop, I'm quite certain, and if it does, I will show you. But as you can see right now, it's 33.3 degrees, and we might have some precipitation later. So we're inside where it's much warmer and much friendlier for our well-being. And we brought them in Grandpa's day room here for assembly, so we don't have to freeze ourselves in the process. We put some of the pieces on the floor, and we're going to create the carcass first. Now you could use glue. I'm not going to use glue in case I ever decided to use this wood for something else, so I can just take it apart. And it's not necessary, it's not going to move at all. It's going to stay in the closet and just be there looking pretty, right? So our next step is to create a carcass. So we're going to create a square, if you wish, right? And then we're going to put the shelving in. Again, the design of this was to minimize our exposure to the weather, even though it already feels like we spend a lot of time in the weather, but we really have not, right? So we're going to start assembling. We are using our square clamps They're from Harbor Freight and they're really excellent. And we're going to use them, put them in all four corners. That will make the assembly a little easier overall, but it takes a little bit of work setting them correctly. Once you do them correctly, however, you're done. And I think this is our first project ever. We're using all available clamps we have. We're using the red clamps and we're using the green clamps, right? The green clamps are a little more heavy duty, and that's why we use them on the bottom, where the red clamps will help us keep the alignment, but they're not as heavy duty. Right, ladies?
Right.
So we have aligned all of our seams. Any little gaps that might be showing will be addressed when the screws go in, but the boards are in alignment. And this took us about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit better, to get everything in the clamps and just aligned there.
And now it's ready for us to make pilot holes and put the screws in to hold the carcass together.
Right, and just backing out, here's our carcass.
And woodworking, right? This could be the beginning of a big chest, right? That you can put blankets in. Yeah, very big chest. But the idea is that it's the same process, right? For us, happen to end up being square. It doesn't have to be square, right?
Right.
But you can see you put shelves and you have a bookcase. You put, okay, the dogs are going crazy because there's another dog walking outside. Okay, guys, enough. But you can see that this basic shape, once you learn how to make it, you make it very narrow and much smaller, and you put the bottom and you have a drawer. You put the bottom and the top, you have a box, you know.
You put a liner and add water, you have a hot tub.
There you go. Well, no, but you can have a planter. I mean, you know, cut it in half, right? Bring that down and you have a nice planter. You put two stakes, a stake on each corner. You raise it, you have a raised planter. What I'm trying to communicate is that this basic shape, once you master it, will allow you to make a lot of different things, right? Build a lot of different things.
Yep.
You can see here our wind gusts are at 11.2 with an average sustained wind of 6.3, which is why we are going to have a lot of difficulties outside. The windshield is in the mid-20s outside, very, very harsh conditions.
Right.
So why do we do pilot holes, ladies?
So we don't split the wood. We're also using screws with small heads so that it will dip just below the surface.
Yeah.
And more of a furniture finish.
Even though technically it's not a furniture, no one will see this, it will be in the closet.
But you never know what we might want to repurpose this for. And we do repurpose.
Do we?
We do.
We never
Of course
do
we
that.
do. Oops. Get my knee out of the way. That would be good.
What? So while your top and bottom corners are aligned, you can see there is a little gap in the middle, but usually the screws will tighten this up, so don't worry about it very much. So we're going to see if we were correct about that, but you know, usually we are. Ideally, when you use two screws, put one on each corner and then one in the middle. The case of the mysterious screw, huh? And what Alpita is doing there is a very slight, not even a 16th bowing there, and she's putting her finger to make sure that that bow disappears. And as you can see, now this closed very nicely, right? That's, as I said, it will happen. Excellent. The next step is to remove the clamps because we don't need them anymore. And you could use the clamps if you want for the next steps. I think we decided we're not, right, ladies?
As of right now.
Here you go, guys. Every guy's dream. 2 women doing woodworking. I mean, life doesn't get better than that. Forgive us for we are sinning. We're using a measuring tape because there are many ways to try and have this. Our favorite way will be to cut story sticks, but that requires us to be in the garage, and we're all babies today. None of us wants to be in the garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But story sticks will give you a perfect alignment, right? Also, we're going to need to use a square to make sure we're square, but and we're using only the red clamps. We don't need both of them right now. The red by themselves are sufficient. So we have the first shelf in place and we have 2 screws on it, and now we're going to decide where we want the next shelf, and that's how you now start seeing the, wow, that is awesome. It almost doesn't need screws, huh?
Nah, it needs screws. It's going to hold a little bit of weight.
All right, so now we're going to decide where we want this, and we're going to again screw it. You can see we also have a square in the bottom, so we're making sure that the shelves are plumb and square in all directions. Of course, we do not know if our floor is plumb and square upstairs, but you know, we're doing our best to make sure what we are building is plumb and square.
So we've got the unit on its side. We're doing the opposite side of the shelves here. We've done the pilot hole, as you can see. Another screw. And again, this is on its side, and we've made sure that the shelves are in alignment at the measurement that we did. And we have the clamps in place. And this one's a little bit trickier because there's some seams going on there, so we are adjusting for that so that we don't have any splits. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit to show you what I'm talking about that. And that's the nature of the boards that we chose to purchase. And now we've got to adjust and do these two here.
You can finish those.
Oh yeah, you want to do 2 more up there. So we've got 2 more to do up here. We won't film you that, and then we've got to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And we'll go from there.
So we're using our square to make sure that we are going to find ourselves versus just going through thin air. Because as you can see here, it can be difficult to just hit the correct spot in a distance. It's not intuitive to our brains exactly where it is. We inversed is the right word. We flipped it over. So as you can see in the top now, we do not have screws because we haven't done it yet, right? But this is the last part of our assembly. Once again, we're using screws and we are almost done with the basic assembly of the piece. So we're going to use our square again to make sure that we're going to hit our shelving, right? So what you're using, your existing screw or the wood?
The existing screw, but
Okay.
I have this edge lined up with the edge of the wood here.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna go kind of in line here to the middle.
You can see you don't need to draw a line or anything, you just move on and do it.
You want to that you don't do it at an angle. It needs to be completely straight up and down. Especially with boards that are like 3/4 to a half an inch, thick. You want to make sure that you're not going to go to either side of the board that you're trying to hit.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
No.
Now, if you notice that if you put even a little pressure here, the piece is racking. It moves a little back and forward, right? There is a spring. This is why when you buy those bookcases you assemble, or if you find a ready bookcase, it has a back on, The purpose of the back is not what you think. It's not to hide your wall. It's to prevent this movement, right? We don't have any particle board, but there are other ways you can stop this movement, and that is to tie one corner to the diagonal corner, right? If you tie those two corners together, that movement stops. And there are several ways to do it. We are going to use a piece of wood.
It's a bit of a round over from a 2x4.
Right. So we're using it, we don't throw anything away. And we're going to put a screw on each corner and a screw on each shelf, right? If you want to go crazy, you can go with an X. I don't want to go crazy, This is plenty.
We're crazy already.
But you can also use a piece of wire, instead of wood if you don't want wood and you have wire. I guess both are requirements, right? All right, so that is the last step we're going to do because it's going in my office. I do not want it stained or painted. I will leave it like this for now.
So we've laid it back down on its front because we are putting the brace on the back. We've got the piece in place and we're going to go ahead and put the screws in. And then after this is screwed into place, we will take a Japanese saw and basically scribe along the edges of the shelf to cut off any excess.
And if you are very, very picky and you want to make sure that it is totally square, this is a good time to do what we did before and change the diagonals that are the same dimension. I am not as picky.
We were like barely off, right?
Right. We're a 0.2 millimeters
Right.
off. Nothing.
And visually, that's not something you're going to be able to detect.
No. Excellent.
So we're going to do one on each of these shelves and then also the other corner, and then we will cut off the excess.
Yep. So we are finishing the assembly as far as the screws. And if for some reason you're not satisfied, you can do another one, right? The other direction. But for my purposes, I think that's plenty. Also, you might notice the little blue button in the corner. What is that there for, Elpida?
To prevent any scratching when we're using the Japanese saw to cut off the excess.
Okay. Who wants to do the honors?
Not me.
Not you.
If you're gonna do it,
Yeah. I'm listening. right? Which means that we are at a little angle, that's okay. Perfect. Look at that. Look at this perfect cap you made. Mm-hmm. Sometimes hand tools are the best option, right? Mm-hmm. And both sides are done. Yay! Did we have an injury, Mrs. White?
No.
With our brace installed, as you can see, there is no racking at all actually, right? Now if it was taller, you might need it too. So if it was like a 6 or 8 foot bookcase, either you need a back or you need 2 of them. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Or wire, either way you want. In bookcases, a back makes sense because we're so used to have backs in bookcases. So you achieve 2 things at once. It doesn't need to be strong enough. Again, even on expensive bookcases, it is really cardboard that they use as a back. It doesn't need a lot of strength, it's just enough to prevent the racking. Mm-hmm. Well friends, this is the final product of our hard labor in the nice warm place, right? Maybe this can become our new indoor shop area.
No.
No, okay. Now at this point, again, this goes into my office. I like the look of this. Ladies, do you like this look?
It's nice. I like it.
But again, it can be used as a bookcase. It can be used as a lot of things. Also, I don't think I need it because nothing that I put will be significantly heavy, but you can put like a middle divider, right? But this seems to me pretty good, right? If it starts bowing, I can put a divider at a later time.
And the divider would serve a dual purpose of being a support as well as dividing the space up.
Right, yeah. But that is not something difficult to do, so unless, Miss Dear, why would you like to do that? I mean,
I think that if we were going to put like another shelf in, that would be nice to have the divider. But as it is, we'll have to see how it functions for us, and then we'll decide.
And it is not hard to add it, right? That's not
Right.
a difficult thing to do. So with the magic of editing, most of the mess is cleared and the closet is cleared. So we're going to hopefully be able to fit what we build in this closet. And just like that, you will think we know what we're doing. We are ready to reorganize, right? Mm-hmm. Fantastic, Mrs. DIY?
Yeah.
So, what was hard about this? Anything hard? Is it a basic beginner build? What do you guys think?
I think it's fairly basic.
Knowledge-wise, what most people might not realize is that you need a brace to prevent
Racking.
There you go. Apparently my accent doesn't make it sound correct, right? What do I say it like?
Racking.
Okay. So, what she said.
The first time.
So if you do not know anything that it is more than a very small box requires a support, right? But the support doesn't have to be substantial. As you notice, this is just an edging from a 2x4. Nothing really great, but still it has completely stabilized it. So this always bites us for some reason, right? We pay attention on one aspect of a board and we forget to check another. On these boards, usually you don't have to worry about bowing and racking. They're usually pretty good, right? But with small variations. So we're comfortable, we'll grab them, we'll put them in the car. We came here only to find out one corner was chipped. So what do you do in that case? If you have space, you can cut it off, right? We did not have enough of a leeway to cut it off. So we made it the bottom corner so you cannot see it. Right? It's impossible to see. So even if this was a bookcase, totally salvageable. You agree?
Yep.
Cost. We bought 4 boards, but we only used 3. Which means that this could actually be taller, right?
Could be.
Or wider, or whatever you want to do. Or we can have more shelves.
Right. Which we probably will add later.
Yes, if, as we usually do, if we don't like what we did, and another DIY benefit, right?
Right.
If we see this is not exactly serving our needs, we can modify it any way we want. So it cost us about $90 of wood. Can I buy something like that, solid wood, for $90?
No, not at all.
Not possible at all. So we are ready to move on with the organizational thing. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. And we hope you're going to get back with us next weekend for another really fun project. From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Elpida, let's build something to organize together.